On a hot summer's evening in 1995, 12-year-old Anna D'Angelo had just finished dinner with her family and decided to go for a bike ride. 4 hours later, detectives were combing the countryside looking for her body.
It was August. It was a hot, humid night. And after dinner, Anna asked if she could go for a bike ride. And I said, okay, but don't be gone too long, because Aunt Terry was going to be making strawberry shortcake for her.
It was already getting dark when Anna called her mother from a local store, telling her she would be right home.
We waited, and I guess it was 15, 20 minutes or so, and she wasn't home yet, and I just knew something was wrong.
Anna's mother got into her car and began a desperate search for her daughter.
I drove down along the road, and I kept waiting, expecting to see her any second. And the next thing that I found was her bike lying on the side of the road. And at first I thought, well, maybe she went into the woods to go to the bathroom, who knows? And I started to call her name, and I was calling Anna, Anna, and about the third time, I guess I really started to scream her name.
But Anna never answered. Within hours, the state police were searching the woods, hoping to find some trace of the missing 12-year-old girl.
Parents of this little girl were smart enough to know that their chances had gotten quite slim, and I don't think in their own hearts they expected good news. I hate to say it, but we sort of wrote her off as being murdered.
But early the next day, police went to the home of a woman who had just reported that she had found a girl wandering nude and dazed on a country road.
The girl was wrapped in a blanket, sitting on the couch in a home. She was coherent, although badly beaten. In particular, her eyes, the whites of her eyes, were completely red with blood.
It was a fairly lengthy drive to the hospital, and she was very ill. She was able to tell me that she remembered being scared and running into the woods, and she couldn't remember anymore at that point.
At a local hospital, doctors examined Anna and found that she had been subjected to a brutal sexual attack.
They said she had been raped, she had been sodomized, she had, vaginal damage and stuff, you could see.
Police began to hunt for the attacker. They started by searching their computer databanks, looking for convicted rapists and child molesters who lived in the area. The list of names seemed endless. By the next day, Anna was slowly beginning to remember some of the details of her kidnapping and rape.
What we found was that with each successive interview, she seemed to remember more. She recalled quite a bit about the conversation with him in the car, his children, his family, his wife, his travels to Florida.
Later that night, Anna awoke from her sleep with an astonishing recollection.
She told me that when she had to go to the bathroom, that she had purposely gone to the back of the car to look at the license plate on his car, and that she had read it to herself over and over and over again so that she could remember it if she survived this. She gave us 3 characters in the plate, 4, 2, and 0. She wasn't sure of the sequence, but she was quite sure of those 3 numbers.
Detectives found that they would have to investigate over 2,000 registered cars with the numbers 402 on their license plates. But the very next day, police received a report that a man named Patrick May had crashed his car into a tree. Miraculously, when detectives arrived on the scene, the first thing they saw were the numbers 402 on his license plate, the very same numbers Anna had remembered. When they ran a check on May, his name was on their computer list of convicted sex offenders. Investigator Horton accompanied Patrick May to Burlington Hospital.
There's a came a point in time during surgery that we noticed that Mr. May had what appeared to be bite marks on the inside of his legs. Upon arriving in the ICU and given a sponge bath by one of the nurses, we were watching, and between the three of us, we saw additional what appeared to be bite marks in and around his groin area and on his scrotum and penis.
Investigators now believed that the bite marks on Patrick May's body had been left by Anna during her struggle to defend herself. But they needed proof. They called forensic dentist Dr. Lowell Levine.
I noticed a number of areas on his scrotum and on his penis which had pattern injuries which could be consistent with bite marks and things left by teeth. And also near them there were little dots which I wasn't sure what they were, but photographed everything, although I didn't think at the time that the dots would be particularly helpful. I had one of our consultants in New York City take models and wax bites of the young victim, which I picked up and brought up to Albany. When I opened them up and looked, it became very obvious that she was wearing orthodontic braces, and it struck me that, damn, that's the thing that caused the little dots. This is the little girl that probably left those bites on his scrotum.
Although Anna was never able to identify her attacker, the bite mark now firmly established a physical connection between the suspect and his victim. The district attorney felt he had enough evidence to indict Patrick May on a charge of rape, but he also believed that May deserved an even harsher sentence for attempted murder.
This is somebody who had been through a traumatic experience, both physically and mentally, and the feeling was that something else had happened to her. So we brought in Dr. BADEN in an effort to find out what had happened to her from the time of her last memory and the time when she next woke up and regained consciousness. And the purpose in that was to pursue the theory that Mr. May had attempted to kill her.
When I examined the police records, the hospital reports, the state police photographs taken of Anna the day she came into the hospital, it was apparent to me that she had small hemorrhages on the face that were due to neck compression, that the compression on the neck was of a broad nature, such as by a forearm, because it caused an imprint of each of two chains that she'd been wearing against the skin, and bruises on the neck, that when I examined photographs taken by the eye doctor of the inside of the eyes, there was a hemorrhage present in the retina right next to the brain, all of which indicated to me that Anna had suffered severe cutting off of blood supply and oxygen supply to the brain long enough to make her lose consciousness, long enough to cause death of some of the brain cells, and injury to some other brain cells that, as they recovered while being hospitalized, permitted her to regain part of her memory. In my opinion, Anna was within seconds of deliberately being choked to death.
Dr. BADEN presented the forensic evidence to the jury, and on April 17, 1996, Patrick May was convicted of the rape as well as the attempted murder of Anna D'Angelo.
From the moment that he took her until the moment that she walked out of the woods, she was consciously trying to not just survive, but survive to bear witness and to tell what had happened to her and to remember with specific detail just what he had done to her. And she said to us repeatedly, "I don't want him to ever do this again to anybody."
Today, Anna D'Angelo has recovered from her injuries, but still cannot remember much of what happened to her that terrible night. But she is secure in the knowledge that Patrick May will never be free